I decided to make this updated video on the Isuzu truck today because I kind of added some trim, aluminum trim to the top of the tailgate and the back, and it didn't cost anything. And that's what this show is all about, saving money, as you all know. Now, this is some aluminum trim from a greenhouse, little greenhouse that I bought, and I never actually used the framing of it, and it's just a little angle frame, and I thought that it would make a nice protective trim cover for the back of the tailgate. And along the front wall of the bed next to the rear window. That's a cold start. I thought it'd be a good idea to do a little truck update. Truck's running good. No problems. Yes, I do believe that the rings are completely sealed now. I was using a little bit of oil while the rings were setting and breaking down those cross hatches and the piston walls, wearing in. I was using a little bit of oil like over the last year, since December of 2022, after the rebuild, and the oil usage slowed down substantially, where I don't have to add oil or watch the oil as much anymore, which I'm happy about that. And it's really running smooth, very smooth, thanks to the Weber conversion carburetor. Finally got rid of that Demon factory Hitachi carburetor that was on it. It was always giving me trouble, it seemed like, ever since I bought it. And I still have that carburetor, by the way. I actually rebuilt it, put a new fuel mixture solenoid inside of it. That was about $100, and I think the rebuild kit was about $25. And cleaning fluid, yeah, I probably bought about 3-4 cans of carburetor spray cleaner, which isn't expensive. And I think that was about all that I bought for it. So, about $100 I spent on parts and cleaning solvents. Yeah. But after I rebuilt the carburetor on this, it was running a lot better. I mean, it didn't die on me, at least. You know, it didn't die. And I was having problems with the engine dying, and it was because of the carburetor, the Hitachi carburetor that was on it. But it stopped dying after I rebuilt the carburetor. So I was happy about that. You know, I could actually drive it around without it dying on me and getting stuck somewhere. And I used to take my I used to throw my bike in the back of the bed just in case it died on me, so I could you know, bike it back home to get my tow vehicle and go back to pick it up and tow it home. And so that was that. And you can see how the oil pressure jumps up, you know, right away when it's cold. Of course, I'm holding the gas pedal to keep the idle up too. I don't want it to run at a low idle while the engine's cold. I like high idle, so I generally boost it after I start it on a cold morning. And it's not cold today though. Finally, summer's here, and the weather's really nice. Finally getting out of that cold spell that we were in during the off season. Everybody's happy about that. You know, they're out trotting their dogs around, taking their dogs for walks again, and people are blowing off the dust and dirt off of their lawnmowers, firing up their lawnmowers, getting ready for the season. But anyway, yeah, you know, the truck's doing good, you know, no problems. What's it been, like a year, over a year now since I rebuilt the motor in this? Just did a ring job. And yeah, she's purring like a kitten right now. I do have to do some work to the four-wheel drive system. I need to do some lubrication, re-lubrication of the knuckles and the CV joints on the front. I need to replace some wheel bearings. I did the right front wheel bearing, replaced those already, re-greased everything. But I haven't got to the left side or the rear of the vehicle. There's no noises coming from the wheels at all. It pretty much rolls silent, and so we're pretty good so far. Shift smooth. Like I said before, you know, I like the transmission in this. It's got a really smooth gearbox, shifts smooth, and the clutch works excellent, even though I probably should have replaced the clutch, disc, and pressure plate when I put the engine back in, but I didn't do it. I just reused the old one. I put the old one back on. I think it was about 50% 50% used, something like that, maybe. I'm guessing. But it still works good. You know, it makes a little noise, you know, when you release the clutch and let the clutch out to idle in neutral, but, you know, that doesn't bother me. As long as it shifts smooth and it grabs, you know, it doesn't slip, then there's no problem. Yeah, I probably also should have replaced that throwout bearing too. That's something I wish I would have done, and that could have been easily done. I reused that too, but that's okay. Other than that, I'm probably gonna clean it up a little bit because it's been a while. You know, it's starting to collect some dirt in the floorboard, and not too bad though. Not real bad. You can see this is my upholstery job. I recovered it with $20 worth of fabric from the fabric store. Now this harness right here, this wiring I put in right here, this is actually going from my auxiliary switch going into the battery, which leads to the fan, the auxiliary fan that I originally put on the radiator. And that's not connected right now because I don't really need it. This thing's running really cool. I mean, the gauge, when it's warmed up, it only gets to like right there, like where it's at right now. Looks like it's on the bottom, the cold mark. It only gets up to about there, just a hair above the white mark, you know, not even an eighth. Now normally on these, normal operating temperature is going to be a quarter, not half. Half isn't normal for these. The normal mark is between cold and half, about a quarter of the way up. That's normal operating normal operating temp. So if your gauge is going up halfway, you might have, possibly have some sort of overheating issue somewhere. But I would, as long as it's not going up past halfway, you're fine. You can just consider that normal. But for me, like I said before, I have owned nine of these Isuzu vehicles. I've owned 5 iMarks, and I've owned 4 Isuzu pup trucks. And all of them, well, I can't remember what the temperature on the iMark. I think it was, they were all the same. I think the needle just went up about a quarter of the way between cold and half, midway. So that's my call on normal operating temp for these things. Quarter on the gauge for the needle. I thought about painting it, but it's got the original paint on it still, and I like the original paint. There's no rust. The whole body doesn't have any rust on it, so why? It still has the original paint. The clear coat's oxidized from being in California or Nevada or Arizona or somewhere most of its life, so it's still, the paint's still protected, so why worry about it? Why bother? And I kind of like the copper tone look that it has on it, better than the red, original red anyway. So maybe in the future, you know, I might have it painted. I don't want to do it myself. I have painted. I used to paint before, and I ended up painting one of my other Isuzu diesels, which was the 84 diesel pup that had the 2.2 liter. I'm gonna shut this radio off. That had the 2.2 liter diesel in it, and I painted that myself, and it needed like tons of body work done to it. I mean, it had rust, you know, in the panels, and I ended up using like body filler, you know, in a lot of spots on it, and a lot of sanding, a lot of filler, went through a lot of sandpaper, tons of sandpaper and discs, and you know, that's probably why I blew out my air compressor, sanding it down so much. But I finished that, and it turned out great. I painted it, went with the Mango Tango paint, the new paint that they used on the new Dodge trucks, Mango Tango, and I've always liked that color, and that turned out good. But I don't want to do it again because you need a lot, you know. First of all, you need a paint booth. At the time, I just bought one of those $200 Harbor Freight 10 by 17 portable tents and put it in the driveway, and I made that my paint booth. Cut out a hole for the exhaust fan, and I made it work, and it turned out okay. Now on that was my first time painting a vehicle, so you know, I was inexperienced, and I was just kind of watching other people paint, you know, how they handled the nozzle tips, what kind of spray guns they were using. I just bought mine from Harbor Freight. You know, it was like $15-20, some cheap sprayer from Harbor Freight. Used my Craftsman upright air compressor, which worked okay. It worked sufficiently. I didn't have the best ventilation so the air would flow properly across over the vehicle and take out all the particles, but it did pretty well. And the only problem I had was with the clear coat, with the final clear coat that I put on over the paint. And I did a base coat, two coats of primer over the body work, and then I think I did like 2 coats of paint and like one or two coats of clear. And all my supplies I bought from the local auto paint supply store. I used cheap paint, Omni, you know, and I know how there's a lot of purist painters out there who despise and will not use Omni paint, but it was the cheapest paint that I could get, so that's what I used, and it turned out good. It was a good paint job for my first attempt at painting, and I don't think I had any runs, no runs on the entire vehicle. Maybe one little spot in the rear or something, in the rear corner near the bumper, but that was about it. And I might have had one little one down near the kick panel, under the kick panel below the door, but it wasn't noticeable. so I didn't really have to worry about doing any kind of paint repair job or recoating. The only real problem I had was with the clear coat. I think it started, the clear in the paint gun either started to clog up my nozzle, or I didn't clean out the nozzle by the second round or something like that. I can't remember. I might have let it sit too long inside the gun, or I reused the first, I left a little batch left in it and it sat too long. It sat too long in the gun before I got to the second clear coat, and it started to harden, and I got this like little hard gel type pieces kind of spitting out of the nozzle, and so I got a little bit of spit on the top, spatter on the top, and a few little 2-3 spots on the side. But I just kind of picked them out, with my fingers or some tweezers or something, and sprayed over it again, and so it wasn't a big deal. And I wasn't trying to be perfect, but it turned out really good. For my first time, I was surprised, because I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it or not, and make it look good. So that worked out good. Well, this video's running along, and I'm going to let the idle down a little bit there. Give it a couple revs. And the video's running along, so I'm going to cut it off right here, and just wanted to give a little update and a little truck talk at the same time. All right, you guys take care. Take care of your community and your neighborhood. Keep an eye out, and I'll see you around the corner. I'm out.